Yeah, in the previous class, we talked about the range of written, and we said the range of written comprises of all the characteristics, all the patterns, and idiosyncrasies. And we said this range of written will help in handwritten comparison and can be categorized into about three. We said the first one is form, the second one is movement, and the third one is spatial relationship. We have discussed, we have treated form, movement, and the third one we are going to treat today is spatial relationship. What is spatial relationship? Spatial relationship refers to how elements like letters, words, and lines are arranged and positioned relative to each other, which can be accessed through characteristics like spacing, alignment, and baseline consistency. So when they are consistent, when these characters are consistent, then we know that the that spatial relationship is okay, is how it should be. So it encompasses the way letters, words, and lines are positioned relative to each other on the page. This includes analyzing spacing between letters, between words, and lines, as well as the alignment of text with the baseline, whether it is real or imaginary, and the margins. The reason why we need the knowledge of spatialization is because of the fact that consistent spacing and alignment patterns are characteristics of a person's natural writing style. So variation in these patterns can indicate three things. It can indicate forgery, it can indicate alteration or different writers. So we should take note of this. No, we said that if you are analyzing handwriting, we want to confirm or to refute that a handwriting belongs to a particular person. We said we need to take note of the range of writing. That range of writing is also what we call master patterns. So the range of writing can be divided into three, as we said: the form, the movement, and the spatial relationship. So all this together, when we analyze form and we analyze movement and spatial relationship, the result we get from all these three combined together will form our decision whether to say a handwriting belong to a particular writer or not, whether a handwriting is forged or not. So we have to consider all these three parts, all these categories of a range of writing. A sample of spacing. Let me look at the screen. Look at the space between. If you look at the screen, you see the space between each words of this writer. The space between these words, like for example, between public and sector, between to and reduce, between reduce and incident. This is peculiar. This spacing is peculiar to every writer. If you look at another person's handwriting, the way you have the space between a word and another and the next word will not be the same. Some writers they crowded their handwriting, they crowded their handwriting with letters, that you may have like a place where you have like 8 words on a page of paper. To some, they may have up to 10. So some cramp their letters while some space it, give enough space. Some write one by one. They write letters by letters one after the other without joining them together. And some dey write in a way that a letter will join the first letter will join the second letter, and so on and so forth like that. So they don't leave their pen until they finish written, therefore making every letter to join to the next one. So in that kind of situation, the spacing will be considered. You consider the space, you look at it and compare it with the disputed one. So let's move forward. Utilization of space is affected by the parameters of the written environment. For example, the writer must adjust the size of his or her written to fit into a specific area. Some writers plan accurately and space their work evenly in the space available, whereas others miscalculate and must compress some of their writings to fit in a tight space. How the writers adjust the size to accommodate the available space is an identifying factor. Some, when they know that the remaining space for them to write what they want to write is so small, they adjust it in a way that it will occupy the place, and that one will appear in every place where they write. They can manage space, whereas others will not be able to do the same thing. This is a strong identifying factor. If you look at your screen, you can see this handwriting of these two writers. Even though they were asked to write the same thing, look at how this one writes his own in a way that the whole thing was going up. The lines were going up. Look at how this one writes his own, and everything was he just used the small space compared to the second one. And this is peculiar to every writer. So the way every writer manages space that is available is peculiar to them. It's an identifying factor. Another thing we should consider is the alignment. The baseline is the imaginary line on which writing sits. Writing goes above and below the baseline, but always return to this imaginary line. And even return to the baseline is a significant feature, because few writers bring all of their letters exactly to the baseline. Writers usually are consistent in their baselines. People copying another's writing rarely give consideration to the baseline. The forgers, they can copy how one construct his handwriting. They can mimic it, but they will not take consideration to the baseline. So the baseline is one of the identifying factors that you must consider when we are comparing two handwritings. Look at your screen. You can see that the handwriting of this person. Look at how his own is going up, written from on a line, but each line they are just rising. Each line are rising up to the last one. But consider the second one, this one also, this one. Consider this one, how this one is almost straight on the imaginary line, on the baseline. The imaginary line is just consistent with is consistent with the alignment. So alignment is one of the identifying factors. So the baseline the alignment can be one of the factors that you see and use to confirm that a handwriting does not belong to somebody or it belong to somebody. How do we Analyze spatial relationship in any handwriting. What we do is to look for similarities between similarities or differences in spacing, in alignment, and placement to determine if the document were written by the same person. We consider the spacing, how the person manages space, the space between the space between the letters, between two letters, and space between two words. We take measurement using our metric ruler or any other instrument that we can use to measure the text, the alphabet. So we measure it. We measure the distance between two texts, two letters, and the distance between two words. And we look at this. We don't just look at only one, but we look at majority. We measure it in the majority, then we calculate the average, so you can know the average of the space. So, and we do it like that for the disputed. We also do it the same thing for the original sample. So as we look for the difference in spacing, alignment, and placement, also we look for the similarities, and with this we can determine whether the two samples are from the same source or not. Another thing we take note is the position of the letters and words in relation to each other. For example, some people write their off. They write off like OF. If they want to write off, they place their O above the bar, above the crossbar on the F, and this will be consistent in all their writings. Wherever you see their off, that is where you see the O will be above the cross. The bar, the crossbar of the F, and some you see the O below it, while some the O will be before the line, before the crossbar, before they started writing the cross. It will be before it, not above or below. So, and this will be consistent in all their near every place where you see them written off. The same thing, some when they will want to write something like th after any number, like third, like a fourth position, like 24th, they write the th like superscript above and not on the same baseline, not on the baseline with the number. So they just write 27, for example, they write the th at the upper part of the 7. But some will write their 27, for example, and they write the th that will be on the same baseline with the 7. So this, we must take note of all this. The position of the letters in relation to each other must be taken note. And another thing that we must take note of is the alignment. We must take note of how well the text align with the baseline, how it align with the baseline, and also the margins. The baseline, just as you said, how the text align with the baseline is very strong at identifying factors. The way people write on the baseline is not always the same with other writers. The way writers write is not always the same with others. So their own, each writer has a unique return to the baseline when they write. The same way with the margins. We take note of the margin. Some will leave about the top and the bottom will be about 1 inch. 1 inch. And some they will leave about 0.5 inch. 0.5 inch at the all the margins, maybe the top, the bottom, the left, or the margin. And the margin is also a strong identifying factor. Some will write and leave just a margin that is so small, and some majority, when they write fast, those who write fast will start with large margin, small margin, and they end with large margin at the left hand side, and the right hand side will be closing and closing until when everything will be almost closed. The margin will be almost gone. So, and some will still maintain the margin, the distance in the margin, the space of the margin, they will still maintain it. So this is also unique to every individual. So all this must be taken note. You must take note of all this. Take into consideration that spacing, alignment, and placement are all identifying factors. They are part of spatial relationship that we must work on before we can arrive at a good conclusion. So, and lastly, before we call it a day, another important factor in identifying handwriting is spelling and punctuation, along with the rules of grammar. We are stopping here today, so see you in the next class. The course material will be posted into the board, to the class board, while this video also will be posted.